Has China's electric vehicles finally taken the lead in the EV race? All the big automakers and tech companies around the world compete to be the leaders in EVs, but where does China stand? Let's take a look under the hood and see how China is all set to take on the rest of its competition. For a while now, people have thought electric cars would one day replace gas-powered cars, but just this past year, it became clear that Chinese automakers are way ahead of the game. Not only are their electric cars dominating sales in China, the biggest car market in the world, but they're also starting to export and sell a lot of them internationally. These are two major reasons why Chinese EVs are doing so well. First, they manage to keep costs low, so their prices are cheaper than competitors. Second, the technology in Chinese EVs is really advanced and high quality. It's an unbeatable combo. China has also taken control of the entire electric vehicle supply chain from start to finish. They mine the raw materials, build the batteries, and manufacture the final cars. Basically, they've got a firm grip on every part of making EVs. Experts warn that because Chinese electric vehicles are so cheap and readily available, Western automakers could lose over 25% of their total sales. As countries keep making stricter emission rules, EVs are definitely the future of cars, but with their huge head start, Chinese companies are positioning themselves to potentially be the leaders of this electric vehicle revolution happening right now. Will Western automakers be able to catch up to the Chinese EV makers zooming ahead, or will they get left behind in the dust? Well, right now, Chinese brands account for half of all electric cars sold around the world. Companies like BYD have taken the lead, even outselling Tesla and becoming the world's biggest EV maker last year. This has allowed Chinese automakers to grab a huge share of sales from former leaders like Volkswagen, especially in their home market. And Chinese consumers are going crazy for EVs too. Last year, a quarter of all the new passenger cars sold in China were electric. By this September, that percentage had jumped up to over one-third of sales being EVs. Financial experts predict that EV dominance will continue to accelerate in China. They estimate that Chinese automakers' global market share for electric cars could almost double to 33% by 2030. Meanwhile, traditional Western automakers' slice of the EV pie is expected to shrink considerably. Part of China's advantage is the lower cost they can achieve. For example, in 2023, BYD had an enormous 25% cost advantage over European as well as North American EV brands. Those major savings allow Chinese electric cars to undercut competitors on pricing. The evidence is clear. China has gone all in on electric vehicles in a huge way. Between the sales figures, market share projections, and cost advantages, they have already built an incredibly powerful position in the global EV industry. When it comes to manufacturing the battery cells that power electric cars, over 80% of that global production happens in China. They've built up an enormously strong supply chain for batteries centered within their borders. But China's battery edge goes even further than just the manufacturing stage. They're increasingly controlling the entire supply chain from start to finish by mining and processing the critical mineral components like lithium, cobalt, manganese, and rare earth metals, all needed to make EV batteries. On average, EV battery packs made in China cost just $126 per kilowatt hour. Compared that to battery packs being 11% more expensive in the US and 20% higher in Europe. China reigns supreme when it comes to EV batteries, but the most expensive piece of the EV manufacture, from raw material mining to processing to manufacturing, their battery supply chain is far ahead of other regions. With such a commanding lead in the heart of electric vehicles, China has cemented itself as the dominant force in the EV global industry. Right now, most electric vehicle batteries use lithium as a key ingredient. However, Chinese manufacturers are already working on unveiling a brand new type of battery that doesn't rely on lithium at all. Instead, these cutting-edge batteries will be powered by sodium. Sodium has a couple of major advantages over lithium when it comes to EV batteries. First, it's much more abundant in nature and easier to obtain supplies compared to lithium's more limited sources. But the real game changer is that sodium batteries are far less prone to overheating and catching fire, a safety issue that has plagued some lithium-ion batteries in the past. Reducing fire risks could be a massive safety boost for EVs. China has provided huge subsidies and support that have turbocharged its electric vehicle industry into the dominant force it is today. For consumers, China had a national program for over 10 years that gave massive discounts on EV prices, up to 60,000 yuan, which is around $11,200. That made electric cars way more affordable, even now. Many local governments still provide rebates of up to 10,000 yuan to EV buyers. For manufacturers, the Chinese government directly funded over 500 EV companies, all to launch with subsidies and other support. This led to explosive EV growth and rapidly dropping prices through competition, though many failed companies later consolidated. For infrastructure, China has blanketed the country with a widespread network of standardized, government-subsidized charging stations. This makes it very convenient and affordable to charge EVs. As of May 2023, they had thousands of charging points installed. Car companies have also opened hundreds of battery swapping stations where you could quickly swap depleted batteries for fully charged ones. This strategy of subsidizing the entire EV ecosystem, the vehicles, the companies making them, and the infrastructure to keep them running has been a key driver behind China's ability to rapidly scale up as an electric vehicle powerhouse. China's aggressive push into electric vehicles, fueled by generous subsidies and support, has allowed Chinese automakers to go on a massive export offensive that is disrupting the global market, with China's domestic EV market booming, but its overall economy slowing in 2023. Chinese brands wrapped up exports to find new customers. In just the first 9 months of 2023, China exported 825,000 electric vehicles, more than double the same period in 2022. Europe has been a prime target, where subsidies are available on imported EVs just like domestically made ones. This has allowed Chinese brands like BYD and NIO to rapidly increase their market share in Europe from just 1.1% in 2020 to 5.6% in the first half of 2023 alone. Understandably, this tidal wave of cheap Chinese electric car exports has European automakers deeply concerned about losing sales. In September 2023, the European Union launched an investigation into whether China's state subsidies for its EV makers violate trade rules. The US has tried to insulate its automakers by making new EV tax credits contingent on North American assembly with domestic components through the Inflation Reduction Act. There's also 25% tariffs on imported Chinese vehicles compared to just 10% in Europe. However, even with these protectionist measures, the cost advantage of Chinese EVs remains a significant competitive threat. China's vast supply chain, economies of scale, and decade of subsidies have created EV behemoths like BYD that can undercut legacy automakers. The United States has recognized China's dominance in electric vehicles as a major challenge and has taken significant action through the Inflation Reduction Act. In the year following the act's passage, $55.1 billion was announced for investments in new battery manufacturing facilities all across America. Additionally, another $16.1 billion is set aside for building entire EV factories. While the surge in investment will eventually lead to a significant increase in domestic EV production, the immediate impacts have been somewhat limited. This is partly because many automakers are rushing to increase their electric models and initially rely on importing batteries and components from China. As a result, only 13 current EV offerings qualify for new customer tax credits that require comprehensive domestic sourcing. In Europe, companies like Germany, France, and Spain have taken note of China's EV dominance, following America's lead with the Inflation Reduction Act. These economic powerhouses have quickly introduced their generous packages of tax credits, rebates, and aid for EV investments by automakers. Legacy brands are also taking action. Volkswagen, Stellantis, Renault, and other European automotive giants are retooling massive traditional car factories to manufacture fully electric models. They are investing billions to launch dozens of new battery-powered vehicles in the coming years, as they accelerate from gas and diesel engines. Moreover, these companies are building new battery cell production plants, both independently and through partnerships, to localize and control their EV supply chains. Even South Korea, known for powerhouse brands like Hyundai and Kia, has expanded its EV subsidies and incentives to support its domestic electric vehicle industry. This move aims to boost sales amid challenging economic conditions and prevent Korean automakers from falling behind the Chinese EV export machine. The global response to China's electric vehicle dominance follows a similar strategy. Open the spending floodgates through subsidies and tax credits to stimulate consumer demand, make massive investments to rapidly retool aging factories for EV production, pour billions into building a domestic battery supply chain, and accelerate the rollout of new electric car models. It's a strategy of fighting fire with fire, straight out of China's playbook. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. Subscribe to our channel to stay connected with us for more updates. See you in the next one.